Here we go. Man, the French in Niger, Africa. Every time I don't want to talk about Niger, Africa, I want to move to a new topic. The French just are wilding out over there. And it's getting almost a little detrimental to where U.S. troops now can be affected. Because one thing you have to understand at the end of the day, if the United States has to pick between allies, the French or Niger, Africa, they have to choose the French. And we'll get into all of that and how long we've been allies and how the French have kind of sucked the United States into other conflicts before. The Vietnam War. And we'll get into all of that. So, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about what's going on. So, Niger, Africa had told the French that the ambassador of France needs to leave. There was some fake stuff out there saying, well, the United States has to leave, Germany has to leave, blah, blah, blah. None of that was true. What was true was that the French 100% have to leave, more specifically the ambassador. Now, the president of France said, we ain't leaving, bro. He's not leaving, despite their embassy being rioted on, despite people saying, we are going to take you guys out. My man ain't leaving. So let's go ahead and look at the comments of what the French are saying, and then we will also get into exactly what the issue is here. And why U.S. troops literally can be under threat because of this action of just not leaving in peace or figuring out some sort of resolve. Because in this video, I might have a little bit of U.S. biases here as a former U.S. soldier. Okay. Macron says the French ambassador will stay in Niger despite pressure from the junta to leave. Okay. I think our policy is the right one. It's based on the courage of President Bazoum and on the commitments of our ambassador on the ground, who is remaining despite all the pressure, despite all the declarations made by the illegitimate authorities. From the French perspective, the coup is not the real authority. The authority in Niger, Africa is the president who's being held right now, Mr. Mohammed. Now, here are some of the words from people, and hopefully this video works. Whenever I do this live and I talk about France, my connection's always bad. Even my internet's like, come on, France. Here are some of the comments of what people are saying about the French. Somebody said, thank you for the $2 donation. At this point, I'm going to throw you off every stream. Love you. Here's what the people are saying about the French, and then we'll see some more clips. And again, we will get to how this will hurt the U.S. military and how it'll make things really awkward.
We'll give them a deadline of 10 days. The day the deadline passes, we'll penetrate their base. It's true that there will be deaths, but the most important thing for us is that they leave. Our country is more important than our lives, so we're ready to sell our lives for that country.
Okay, those are some very powerful words. And before we get into why the French want to stay and why they're willing to like take all this crap, I have a video here too of about a month ago from the time of making this video. This was also happening at the French embassy. Just to give you guys some context of the French are not backing down here, despite it's and again, it's really annoying because the French know they're not going to be the main ones fighting this force if anything goes down. And that's what's really pissing me off about this, if I'm going to be honest. This is the French embassy about a month ago from the time of this live stream. You have demonstrators showing up, quite literally just attacking the embassy. Okay, so I know this is not a majority of the country, but a lot of people can do... When this is happening to your embassy, you got problems here, and you have to admit you have problems. Because if we're going to be honest, this is not happening at the U.S. embassy or a U.S. base. This is happening to the French. Now understand this, it's not as simple as being like, okay, French, you need to leave the country now, get out of here. Because the French heavily rely on uranium. In fact, most of the French's uranium comes from Niger, Africa. And the people of Niger are saying, well, you're taking advantage of us as the only buyer of this product. You have a threshold and you're cutting us, you're lowballing us for how much we could be making for our country. And so understand, I know this is Wikipedia, and I always say be careful when you go on Wikipedia, make sure you're cross-referencing, but it's the easiest way to present to you guys some information whenever you do live streams. They've been around since the 1800s here. Well, 1898. So it's a long time since the French have been around. The main language, customs and courtesies, a lot of it is French-based. But now the junta who's in charge is saying, look, economically, we don't want you guys. You guys are taking advantage of us. There's a reason why a lot of countries that the French have been involved with are falling apart and want the French out. They're saying there's way too much French influence. And most of these countries, all of these countries, want the French out. Guinea, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger. One thing to note, though, again, no one's talking about the United States. It's mostly France. But France is a major ally to the United States. So understand it's not as easy as France leave. Because, again, France has a stake on uranium. And I'm not going to be biased here. It'd be like if Saudi Arabia says United States get out now. United States heavily relies on Saudi Arabia for oil. Currently. Not heavily, but you know what I mean. It wouldn't be as easy to just get out. It would be a big economic problem also for France. Okay, but you know it's not a problem real quick, and I got to do this. Because I'm not sponsored by anyone, I do have a second channel. My second channel is the sponsor of the main channel. So I'll leave a pinned comment if you want to go check out the second channel. I left a pinned comment on the live stream if you're watching it live. And this does get posted. So if you're watching this, go subscribe to the second channel. It helps out a lot. And that's our sponsor. I know it's lame. But to the meat and potatoes of the story, why I think it's very scary for the French to literally just not care and are just standing their ground. Two things here. Number one, France, like I said before, knows they're not going to be the main fighting force if there is an invasion. Number two is that the French know the United States have to pick the side of the French. They have to. Now, if you guys are unaware of the history of the Vietnam War, you almost never hear about the French. But the French were involved with Vietnam for a long time. A long time. In the 40s, you had something called the Indochina War. And essentially, at the end of the day, you had communist expansion. And the French were not trusted enough to stop the expansion of communism into Vietnam. Thus, you have the United States, who first sent in special forces, and then massive ground invasions, air campaigns, etc. Something else to consider. We're going to get even way back in history. The French and the United States have been friends for a long time. The Revolutionary War. So, look, it's not like we've never had issues with the French, with the Americans and the French, but understand the ties go deep, historically speaking. Very deep. I mean, the French are one of the big reasons why the United States is even around today. And again, I say this, the United States, they have to pick a side here. Even though the United States have not really been saying anything, they've been quiet, they've been saying this is not a coup. The French are like, yo, we're staying. So what are you going to do here? And if we're going to get even more deep into the story, understand what's going on in France right now. Because this is a major factor as to why you also have some other factors that come into play when it comes to Niger, Africa. And I know for me, someone said, please do your history about the French in Algeria. Yeah, this channel is not about French history. It's just relevant. But, you know, that's a pretty good topic. Understand that France is banning Islamic dresses in schools. And so because of this, you also have Muslim leaders and Islamic leaders who are down in Niger who are using this and are using calls to prayer, calls to action against Western powers. Western powers being the French. So whatever France does here, especially when you're targeting a religion that's pretty powerful in the country of Niger, it's going to affect a lot of things. It's going to create some spark in the country. Now, the thing that's also a little confusing is that the French have been there for a long time. Okay, we saw about 1900s, early 1900s, or what is it, 1895? The United States has only been there since about 2001 through 2002, not completely verified, unverified, verified, where the United States said we're going to go to Niger, Africa, or at least this inner region of Africa to fight the boys, I can't say the name on here, the militant group in charge of the attacks in 2001. You can't say it on here anymore. And so you have two opposing issues of like, you have one major superpower who's legitimately there to try fighting militant groups. You have another superpower there who's also there to quote unquote fight militant groups, but also get some natural resources while we're there. And I know a lot of people, apparently he doesn't know crap about history. He's not a historian. He's a vague geopolitical analyst speaking on current events. My second channel is about more history. Guys, don't take this as me sticking up for the French. I'm just trying to put things in perspective and try to come out of the American biases. In this particular example, when it comes to Niger, Africa, I find it very hard to believe you have these two opposing major superpowers. The United States went there 100% to fight militant groups. You then had the formation of what's called AFRICOM to back and to fund special forces to help fight these militant groups. Unfortunately, everything backfired, and now you have the juntas who were trained by U.S. Special Forces and other U.S. entities. Drone assets are not being used right now. And again, when you look at what's happening in mainland France, when you have laws saying you cannot wear these dresses, you cannot wear these garments if you're a Muslim woman, this affects what happens in Niger because now you have militant groups using this as a promotional tool to fight the West, to join us. Because in Niger, Africa, it's not only the French, it's not only other major superpowers, it's not only ECOWAS. You also have these militant groups running free right now between Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. So, in my humble opinion, I do think this could be very detrimental for the relationship of the United States and France because the United States, again, they have to pick France as their friend. They don't have a choice here. So, that's my video. That's what I think is going to happen. If you guys think otherwise, I'd love to hear your opinion on the posted video. Please leave your comments on the posted video. I love to read all of them, and then we can create a discussion from here. But the French are not leaving. Apparently, they're staying. I don't know what they're going to do. I also think the French are sort of hiding behind ECOWAS because they know ECOWAS are going to be the ones to go into Niger and do most of the work while the French just hang out. So, yeah. That's what's going on. Again, if you're watching this live, I'll be posting this video. Make sure you go back and watch the live stream or anything you missed. Leave your comments down below. Love all you guys, and we will see you later.